Thank you, Michael. My name is Allison Barton, and I'm the health educator at the Moorpark College Student Health Center. And it is my absolute privilege and pleasure to welcome you to the health fair and to introduce our speaker for this hour, Professor Roger Putnam. Roger grew up in Massachusetts and after graduating with a BA in geology, moved to Yosemite National Park, where he worked as a restoration ecologist, hydrologist, and GIS technician from 2006 to 2011. After a brief time in North Carolina getting his MS in geology, he returned to the Sierra Nevada where he did applied research on the rock of Yosemite Valley and taught as an adjunct faculty at several community colleges. He moved to Ventura County in 2017 to work for Moorpark College, and his favorite things to do are big wall rock climbing, surfing, raising food in his garden, and hanging out with his family and friends. So thank you and welcome, Roger. It's all yours.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and I feel like it's a privilege to be able to speak at this event, and I thank you so much for thinking of me, and I hope that you'll get some meaning out of what I have to bring to you today. What I am here, what Allison asked me to talk about was environmental health. Oops, sorry, I shared the wrong thing. Share my screen. Apologies. All right. Can y'all see my screen right now? Okay, cool. It's not popping up in the typical way. All right. What I'm here to speak with you all about is environmental health. And I feel like this is a word, this is a term that I feel like we could kind of take in a whole bunch of directions. The way that I want you to think about what we're going to talk about today is both the health of the environment and then your own personal health, both mental and physical, and the feedback system between the two. And I really don't want this to be a talk which just complains and moans about all the problems of the environment, because complaining and moaning about, because that's not helpful, right? What I help give you today are the tools to kind of deal with the ecological stress and anxiety and grief that I'm sure a lot of us are probably feeling right now. So I want to open this by getting some ideas from you. I want to open this with you thinking about what is a change that you have noticed in the environment of your community during recent years. I would love it if you could fire your ideas for this into the chat. What's just one thing, or some change that you've noticed in your community during recent years? So yeah, drop them into the chat, and so that we can try to have a little bit of a discussion here. Yep. Okay, so we see increase in fires. Camarillo feels a lot hotter. People are more angry and divisive. More fires. Yeah, I think that us Californians, it's really hard to escape basically all three of those things, right? Our governor once recently said in an interview, hey, if you want to see what climate change looks like, come to California, because it is hotter, demonstrably so. The temperatures are higher. That has helped, is one of the contributing factors which has led to this giant increase in fires. And people are absolutely more angry and divisive. I mean, there are studies that relate the amount of heat to the degree to which it's hotter than normal to domestic violence, individual violence, and other crimes, right? So there's this feedback that I feel like we can notice between all these things. And it just, I mean, I know that I certainly feel like the whole world is, getting faster and crazier, especially in terms of the environment. For the fires, that's a really big one for me. And that's a really big one for me. This event, which we recently had at the end of August, was just a pretty crazy one, especially speaking as someone who used to be involved with public land management and wildland fire. I remember actually that the morning of August 24th, surfing with Matthew Morgan. He's a professor of philosophy here. We were surfing in Ventura Harbor, and just seeing these crazy. It was a day that was forecast to be 115 degrees in Thousand Oaks. That day was the hottest day ever recorded. The hottest temperature ever recorded on the surface of the Earth happened at Death Valley. And I remember surfing that morning and watching this crazy series of thunderstorms rolling in and hearing all this booming. And Matt and I are like, it's like the Navy doing testing or something. What the heck is going on? This is so unusual. And that touched off all these fires, right? Including some truly gigantic and scary ones. The Creek Fire right here, which is just south of Yosemite, it began during this event it began after this event, down here at the bottom of the San Joaquin drainage, at the bottom of the, let me turn on down here at the bottom of the San Joaquin drainage. And right now it is looking like it's about to crest over the Sierra Nevada and drop into the Eastern Sierra. The first fire to cross the mountain range in human history, which is just pretty astounding. And of course, fires such as this one, and of course, we all lived with the smoke that was created by these fires, right? California had for a handful of months, and the whole West Coast had for a handful of months, the worst air quality in the world. And that air was sucked to the west, to the east by the jet stream, and basically coated the whole country. My sister, who lives in New England, she sent me photographs of a completely smoky sky from the fires that were here. And it created these scenes that a lot of us were probably, who live in this area, were fortunately kind of removed from because we were in one of the few pockets of good air in the state. But scenes such as this, let me change the settings of my screen share right now. Scenes such as this. For those of you who are fans of Blade Runner, you might get this. And so there is no alteration. I have family who live in the Bay Area. There is no alteration of this video. There is no there's no changes in the color which have been done digitally. This is real. And it's unavailable. All right, fair enough. But you kind of get, let's see. Yep, it's unavailable. Sorry about that. I can pull up an example of this after. I can pull up an example of this after class. But basically, the sky looked like that for weeks, which is just astounding. This is not, this is not what the world used to be like. So this is a photograph of me at age 23 during my second job working for public lands. I'm actually in this image where I spent many years working as a wilderness restoration ecologist. And this is me on one of the first crews I worked on. And I worked in the backcountry in the Sierra Nevada for almost a decade. And I never once had a trip or like a work trip or a recreation trip, which was canceled because of fires. Never once. And yet now, almost every single season, I have simple weekend trips, multiple weekend trips, which are canceled because of a smoke in the Alpine. So it's just, things are just very different. And in fact, the data should prove this out. So I pulled this chart right here off of CAL FIRE's website.
Excuse me, Roger, we can't see what you're trying to show us. We just see your desktop. You may have to do a new share.
And you'll see it now?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, thank you for stopping me. Huh.
I kind of want to see the picture that you were going to show us.
Picture.
There you go.
There we go.
Thank you.
Well, so that's 23-year-old Roger working on a wilderness restoration crew in long ago, back before we had trips canceled because of fire all the time. I lived in the wilderness and we didn't used to have trips canceled because of fire. Now, if I pulled this chart off of Cal Fire's website of the 20 largest fires in California history. And these 6 all happened because of that one, or all happened this year. 5 of those happened after that one dry lightning event, and then the Creek Fire right here, number 5, that's under investigation. That happened later on in September. But then if we extrapolate, if we look at how recent, look at the rest of these dates, right? 2018, 2017, 2003. These are all really recent, right? I've colored in green, and including the Thomas Fire, right, which disrupted our community very heavily. Everything in green here, these are these are events that happened in the past 20 years. So, I mean, we've got 150 years of California history, basically, and the 17 of the 20 largest wildfires happened during the past 20 years. That's just absolutely astounding. And so every time I go into the mountains now, and am dealing with the smoke and dealing with the after effects of that, I am absolutely experiencing a heavy amount of ecological grief. So, and so that's why I want to kind of gauge where you all are at. Just on a scale of 1 to 10, how optimistic are you about the future of the environment? Just as a whole, not necessarily just fires, but the future of the environment. Let's say 1, that's like you've got no hope, and 10 being you think everything is just going to be completely fine. So go for it. All right, Mike, you mind sharing the results when? Cool. Well, I'm happy that most of us feel that I guess I'm happy. Let's see how many. Yeah, I guess I'm happy that that more of us feel that the environment is going to be okay than not. That I guess that's a good sign for the. I guess that's a good sign for your own for all of our mental health. But needless to say, a lot of people are walking around with an awful lot of grief about all of this, and are carrying an awful lot of burden because of the changes which we are seeing happening around us. So this leads to, I think, just the real big point that I just want you to walk away from this with, that the health of your environment absolutely affects your mental and physical health. Absolutely. As I said, people who live in places where there's a lot of pollution and deal with the stuff that we were experiencing with the poor air quality all the time. And so their mental health drops down, their physical health drops down. So and there's just something that we're all dealing with as these changes are accelerating, and we are seeing and life is becoming more difficult because of them. And notice there's an arrow on this little flow chart going from environmental health to mental and physical health, but also I drew another one going the opposite direction. And that's because there is a huge benefit, as shown out by the cognitive research and borne out by my own experience, to thinking that the mental and physical health that you have can help improve the environment. And as you help improve the environment, that also helps feed back into your own mental and physical health. There's a lot of research that suggests that the act of doing something, the very act of doing something, makes you feel better about the situation, even if the situation doesn't change or in fact gets worse. And so what I'm going to do for the rest of this talk is just give you a handful of what I've found in my own life as someone who's pretty connected to the natural world. Some bunch of things which I've personally discovered help me out, and some of these are also borne out by the social science and psychological research. So, our first one, live sustainably. And I don't mean this as in like go like live in a hut, like live in a tent and eat dirt. I mean, just to the best of your ability, try to live in ways that limit your impact. A lot of the for example, a lot of the sustainable eating practices are better for your body. If you eat animals which weren't raised on factory farms, they've been shown to have more nutrition. And if you eat less meat, that's better for your body system as a whole. So that's like if you live in a way that like eating is one thing that is just thinking that comes immediately to the top of my head, but also like energy, right? Spend less time like watching screens, playing glued to screens, and more time like outside and doing things. Your energy consumption goes down. You are living in a more sustainable fashion. I actually remember this like joke from a Simpsons episode long ago of this guy driving an electric car, and it's like, it also partially runs on my own sense of self-satisfaction. And there's a demonstrable connection that is borne out through the psychological research, that when you do things which help the world or help those around you, you feel better. So live sustainably, because you not only will it help you physically, but it also helps you mentally, as well as helps the earth. Next one, and of course, a lot of the things which you'll often hear about when people talk about sustainable living, like recycling and so on, like these really are like, individual actions such as recycling or choosing to eat less meat, things like that. They don't have a gigantic effect upon the world as a whole, right? We are tiny, tiny little ants in this gigantic hive. Tiny insects in this gigantic, we're tiny little beings in this gigantic hive, which is humanity. And so how the heck can, me choosing to eat, one less cheeseburger per week, how the heck does that make a difference? So the real way that you can make a difference is through just getting involved. I mean, for one thing, if you haven't heard, there's an election happening in about a week. We've all been mailed our ballots. If you haven't gotten your ballot back in, please do so. Because policy is where the big stuff happens. Policy is where the big choices are made, which have the big effects. And so that is the best way that you can do that feedback. You can have that arrow directed towards helping the environment, so that then the environment can help you. But not just voting. I mean, voting is our annual or biannual little tiny civic action you do. And once again, that's another place where you get lost in the hive. You really do. Especially if you live in a state like California, which has such a dominant lean in one direction that it's really hard for individual voters to sway state outcomes or federal outcomes. The way that you can get involved is through other types of political action. One thing that you can do is you can canvass for candidates, such as the women are doing in the left-hand panel, which has a demonstrable act of turning out voters and getting whatever opinion you feel, whatever action you feel strongly about. It helps that get across the electoral finish line. And of course, we can't canvass right now because of the stupid virus. And so but there are actions that you can do. A lot of people are filling out postcards and sending them to potential voters. A lot of people are doing phone banking. So if you want to get involved, get in touch with your candidates. Whoever candidate you might have voted for, you want to help out, and you have just a couple of hours right now, take that time, run some phone calls, do something, because that will help this arrow between mental and physical health, that arrow that you are adding to this input, which will add to the other input. You will feel better because you are doing something. Next thing, avoid screens. And I can't, and I know I'm kind of becoming an old guy right now, but I just heard the term doom scrolling and I just love it. Just being hooked on the thing, just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling away. And there is just it is just your sleep habits become worse if when you're on the screens. That type of light that screens emit, it helps prevent you from going to sleep and then getting restful sleep afterwards. And you begin to fail to see the actual environment around you. And by failing to see the actual tangible real world out there, then you are then that feedback loop between environment and your personal health, that's broken. Another one, explore your world. I realize that we're in a pandemic right now, but there is still so much you can do. So much you can do. Yeah, you can't go to the bar, or maybe you can. You can go to the bar if you can sit outside. You can't go to a lot of things. You can't go to a concert or whatever. But there, you can explore your planet. You've got a whole dang state to go check out. And you can drive there. You can drive in public lands. They are open. So get out there and check out the planet. By exploring your world, you will gain an appreciation for it. By gaining an appreciation for it, you will want to protect it. And then you will protect it. It's the feedback loop, the cycle that we just keep talking about. You don't need to be locked inside during this pandemic, doom scrolling and screen timing away. You can get outside. And what's really cool is that we live in a place where the climate is really nice. It's so good almost the entire year. You can go do things outside. Go to the beach. Go to any beach. Go to or if you have a single beach which you like to go to, try going to a different one. Try going on a hike that you haven't gone on before, or drive to the hills above Santa Barbara and check out the hikes out there. We have so much which is so accessible to us living here that there's a lifetime of exploration for you to do. My next one is to learn about your planet. This quote down here, I have at the top of almost all of my syllabi. True appreciation of landscape comes only when one is alive to both its beauty and its meaning. Fritjof Frixell, he was an interpretive ranger at Rocky Mountain National Park for a very long time. And he was also a geologist. So I like geologists, what can I say? But by learning about the world, like we're all used to like looking at a pretty sunset, or looking at a pretty mountain, or going to a national park and seeing the beautiful features that are there. But like once you begin to learn about why they look the way they do, it's like some sunglasses get put down over your eyes, and suddenly the whole world is like polarized glasses get dropped down over your eyes, and suddenly the whole world is brighter and more colorful. And as it gets brighter and more colorful, once again, the feedback loop, you will care more about it. And so you will work more for it. And the more you care, and then the more it will give back to you. And these, I should say, these images right here, these are both Moorpark College. These are Moorpark College students. Here's some Moorpark College students doing a little outdoor lecture up at the top of the Santa Monica Mountains. And then this is a group of Moorpark College students on our way to the rock pool at Malibu Creek. So take geology at Moorpark College. It's a plug for our program. Another thing is to exercise outside. I know that a lot of gyms are closed right now, and even if you aren't the biggest person into like one of the gym, even if you aren't some kind of gym shark, there's so much you can do outside, which around here, be it playing sports outdoors, running, hanging out at the beach, surfing. There are all kinds of things you can do. You use your body. That body releases the endorphins. You feel better. Your body, the mental health, the cognitive health, they both just fly up by exercising, especially in my opinion, exercising outdoors. So get out into your planet and do stuff with your body when you're there. Next one is show, and then the last one that I have here is show your planet to other people. And so these are a couple of my personal favorite times showing the planet to people. So the left image there, that's with a group of Moorpark College geology majors in the Eastern Sierra on a field trip. One of the great passions in my life is, of course, showing the planet to others. And showing all these magical things you can do in the planet to other people. And then on the right side, that's my kid. That's my kid, and I'm really enjoying showing the planet to him these days too. But you don't need to be a teacher or a parent. You don't need to be a teacher or a parent. You can show it to your friends. If you have a hike that you're into, invite your friends to go on it. I know that we're in COVID time, but all of the CDC recommendations say that you can be 6 feet apart, wearing a mask, outdoors. It's like an infinitesimally small chance of exposure, and infinitesimally small chance of exposure to the virus. So get outside with your friends and show that planet and the appreciation that you have, even if like by showing, I mean like, hey, here's this place which looks cool that I like to go to. That does it. And you feel so good. And all these things, showing your planet to others, exercising outside, learning about your planet, exploring your world, getting out of the, burning your phone, getting involved, living sustainable, all those things somehow give an input to this system. They affect one of these arrows. And as you make one of those arrows get bigger, the other gets bigger too. So that is what I have for you today. And I'm happy to stick around and answer any questions, but go forth from here, close the laptop that you're watching this on, and go for a walk. Thank you so much.
Well, Roger, thank you so much. You just have me all fired up. I feel like just going outside and taking a hike now. And yeah, absolutely.
Go do it. Close the laptop, go outside.
That's right. Nuts to this. Anybody have any questions, comments, concerns for Roger before we let him loose on the Sierras?
Well, let me loose to some grading, but that's okay.
Oh, well, sorry about that. Well, it looks like people are inspired and ready for action. There's some really nice comments in the chat. Johanna says there's so much value for children to spend time in the outdoors, children of all ages, that is. So thank you for that comment. I agree completely. Now, is this you on the side of?
I took the photograph. That's a friend of mine.
Ah, gotcha. Okay.
That's on El Capitan in Yosemite.
Oh my goodness. Just beautiful. Yeah. Just beautiful.
That's a buddy of mine, but I took the photo. Yeah. Cool shot.
It's beautiful. Well, thank you so much again for your willingness to do this and to share your perspective, which I happen to share with our group. And just know that if you, we will be putting this on our website, and it'll be available for everybody and anybody to look at and see. Thank you so much again.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much. And feel free, if you ever have any questions or thoughts about any of this stuff, send me an email. You can get it off the college directory. If you even want some ideas of cool places to go outside and so on, let me know. I spend all my time exploring around here, and as well as the Sierra. So I'm open, and I'd love to chat with people about great outdoors.
Thank you so much, Roger. All right, everybody, go make it a good day. Maybe come back for mindful movement at 4 and our last presentation at 5. Thanks again.
All right, thank you.
All righty.